Let me just explain about the on and off with Parkinson's. For instance, many of you have seen, watching my videos, that one of the things that happens to me when I'm off is that my speech can be quite badly affected. But at the moment, as you can see, my speech is pretty much fine, and I'm not using any tapping or any device to help me speak. That's because I've taken my meds, and that switches me on. There's actually 40 symptoms or so with Parkinson's. We don't all have them all, at least not in the early and middle stages of the disease, but we may have a bunch of them. So we may, when we're off, that is when the meds have worn off, because we have to take them through the day. And if you sit 30 of us in a room, we'll probably all be on a different combination of drugs or type of drugs to treat the condition. But when we switch off, i.e. we get the timing wrong, or the meds are burnt through quickly through stress or activity, which can happen, then things like face masking happens because our faces get stiff. Some of us may have speech problems, and some of us don't. I get a lot of slow movements and I'm stiff and sore. I do now have an intermittent resting tremor. The resting tremor happens if I move my hand too quickly or I'm particularly off, and then my left hand will shake quite badly. If I concentrate, I can still get that under control at the moment. Not when I'm really bad, but for the most part, I can get that under control. We may get dystonia, which is like cramp on steroids, where our hands can claw or our feet go out of shape. That can be extremely painful. And I get some dystonic tremors, which medication has mostly dealt with. In terms of young onset of Parkinson's, it's much less likely that we'll have dementia hit us. That's more akin with, more likely with age-related Parkinson's. But whilst my mental acuity is strong, I mean, I feel as sharp as I've ever been in my life. So can still deliver long talks without notes, banter and take heckling with large crowds, make good strategic decisions, look through complex documents, write, communicate, all of that good stuff. When we're off, we can sound and look like we're either completely inebriated or that we are slow, but we're not, particularly with young onset Parkinson's. And that's why there can be some stigma attached to this, or misunderstanding, because people will see you in an off state and think that you're like that all the time. But that's not true. However, some days the meds seem to work less efficiently than other days. That could be because of what you've eaten, lack of sleep. It could be stress, a lot of physical exercise. It could be because we've been ill, and if we've had something like a bug or flu, then it hits us really hard, and there may be some knock-on effects with that. So when we're on, at least in the early to middle stages, we can look pretty good. When we're off, we can look really, really unwell, because actually we are, because the medication treats the symptoms only. It's not reversing or pushing back the disease. So we have to take this medication all through the day to keep us as on as possible. My on times have been reduced, and I have a symptom now with my voice which makes it look quite alarming. But many of my other physical symptoms haven't really progressed that much at all. I've got a meeting this evening with my neurologist, and I'm hoping that the medication that he gives me will deal somewhat with some of the speech problems I've got. Although I think I probably need some speech therapy as well going forwards, because that's clearly how the disease is affecting me, at least at the moment. Because the other weird and wonderful thing about Parkinson's is that symptoms can change. And some things will leave and then come back, and new ones develop. And in the background, most of us are wrestling with stuff like insomnia, constipation, bladder control, inability to write very well. We could get a lot of pain in our bodies, particularly of young onset, and a lot of that you just won't be aware of because we just have to crack on and deal with it. It's a wild ride, Parkinson's, but I just felt that would be a useful bit of clarity, because as some people have seen my speech and thinking, is he like that all the time? Well, the answer's no. But when it happens, it's a bit of a faff.